When I ran for chief, I never really thought about, gee, I'm a woman, can I do this? I just felt like I could make a difference and that if I worked hard, that I could do a good job.
Brenda Commander was elected in 1997 as the first woman chief in the history of the Houlton Band of the Maliseet Indians. The University of New England and the Deborah Morton Society are very pleased to present Chief Brenda Commander with the Deborah Morton Award for 2012.
Something outside is calling your name, to quiet your breath, to quiet your brain. Sit here a while and see what you feel, 'cause only the body can tell us what's real.
This is a high school.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. I can do this. What do you remember?
It was intimidating at first because it's such a bigger school. In the 9th and 10th grade, I really didn't get into school. I still was more adjusted to it, but at that time, the natives were still looked upon as poor, and kids would, do the mocking, like "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa," like that to you, or they might say, "There's that Indian," and so the native kids pretty much hung out together.
And how many would that be?
Not many.
No.
And a lot of times, me and my friends, we would skip school. We were kind of bad then, but it got better.
Back when I was in school, there were not a lot of Native Americans that graduated. The teachers didn't expect a lot out of the Native students.
Oh, yeah. There you are. So that's a lovely picture, even though you say you don't like it.
I had this teacher, her name was Miss Putnam. It's right here. She was my English teacher who really was encouraging to me, and I really liked her class and enjoyed it, so I paid attention. And my grades weren't that great, but they went up slowly, and I ended up graduating with honors.
That's amazing.
I know. I just amazed myself too, because with all.
I really wanted to go to college. Mostly, I wanted to get away from Houlton. I ended up going to the counselor at the Houlton High School, and he said, "No, you can't go to college. You'll never get into college."
They had a center at the University of Maine, and it was Ted Mitchell who helped the Native students. He looked at my grades and suggested that I go on to Houlton College, and actually helped me find a scholarship through the Quebec Labrador Foundation.
So I went there and wished I would have stayed a little longer. After that, I met my husband through my brother, who was raking blueberries in Columbia Falls. My son was born, ended up moving back to Houlton, where the tribe was just becoming recognized, and we're looking for people to hire. I was finance director for the tribe for 10 years. I would work in the evenings even to try to figure out like the whole complex system of a tribe. It's huge. There was a lot of things going on with the tribe at the time, like families were kind of being divided, and I wasn't sure if I could stay there because it was getting quite political. I didn't feel like we were moving forward as the tribe, and I felt like I could contribute. I wanted to be part of that. It was exciting. And then we had an election coming up. I had two options. I could leave Well, 3 actually. I could stay, or I could run for chief. And then I was like, something inside of me felt like I could make a difference. And one of the things I felt like I had to bring to the table was I'm a hard worker. I like to work hard. Whatever I do, I'm going to give my best 100%. I was sworn in. Some of our leaders actually got up and walked out of the room and walked out on the deck because I wasn't the candidate that they wanted. So I knew right off the bat it was going to be a little difficult. I thought there was so many possibilities for us in our community. I just saw that when others didn't. I want our people to come together, to work together, no matter what I was going to face as a leader. They elected me. I'm going to do the best job that I can for everyone. When I was born, I was very ill. My family were unable to care for me, and so they took me to Canada. My grandmother's house in a Maliseet reservation in Fredericton, New Brunswick. I continued to live with my grandmother and my aunties and uncles until I was 7 years old, and then I returned to the United States, here in Houlton. Everything changed in my life suddenly. The home I came to from Canada, we had no running water, we had no bathroom. I had 6 brothers and 3 sisters. I think I probably was just in total shock. Taken from Canada, put here, these family, I don't know. And then my parents and my brothers and sisters. And then going to the Catholic school. Like, I just probably was, I know I never talked at all. Like, I never said a word. When I went to St. Mary's School in the 1st grade.
And it was run by the Catholic Church.
Yes, by nuns teaching us.
Yeah,
Very strict
very strict.
with the habit and the
Right,
whole.
right.
I had my hair cut really short by the nuns. I thought that I was singled out because I was really the only one that had my hair cut. It was horrible for me. I'm not sure why they cut my hair. Thinking about it, I can't imagine treating a child that way. I know I never talked at all. Like, I never said a word.
My mother went to a residential school in Canada. They actually took children and put them in these schools so that they could take the Indian from them, their culture and their language. And my mother still, when she got older, all of that she never talked about, but she was still loyal to the church. So she's not going to say anything. Even if I came home like that, she wouldn't call and advocate or say what happened or anything. When I think about it, I can't imagine how my grandmother or my mom's mother let her go, or did they just come and take the children? And I think that's why I was so like I really felt like our children here were taken. Not by the church, by the state, by the DHHS, and it home for me. And when I became the leader, I just couldn't drop that.
Yeah.
Because here's this group, it's not the church, but it's the state of Maine, taking children, and who knows where they're going.
And
They would never know their culture, they would never know their families. And The families would do everything that DHS would say. They still wouldn't give the children back. They would adopt them out to non-native families, and they'd never see them again. And I couldn't imagine that. I couldn't imagine that us growing up where we were living, that the DHS would split our family up and take us. I couldn't even fathom. I think I'd probably run away.
So that became one of your biggest projects when you were chief.
Yes.
And
because I was hearing stories. One night we had a domestic violence vigil with the community and our director and the tribal council. While we're getting set up, the police come in to the reservation, to this home here. The head supervisor from DHS was there, and 2 other workers, and a sheriff, and one of the council members or elders came over while we were setting up and said, "Can I speak with you outside?" And she said, "What are you going to do? They're taking our children. What are you going to do about it?"
I walked over there and the DHHS supervisor threw an order at me, and it wasn't signed by a judge. I said, "You have to leave. I don't want any trouble here tonight." She started yelling at me and she said, "You're going to be sorry, Chief Commander. You're going to be in big trouble."
I felt that day that I was going to be arrested. We really were questioning our decision because they'd taken a lot of children before, and because the lady who was head of the DHS, she had a lot of power. Her husband worked for DHS, and he adopted out our native children. She'd take them away, he'd adopt them out. How is that okay? They lose everything. Their culture, their heritage. I had just met Donna Loring. She was the Penobscot Nation's representative to the legislature. I called her and I said, "We asked DHS to leave our lands last night." She goes, "Oh." And she said, "I'm calling the governor." It was Governor Angus King. And he made a call and I didn't get arrested. And as soon as all of this came out, other people in Maine were calling me. I felt empowered to do it because I didn't feel afraid. I felt like this is our tribe, our lands, our community. It has to stop somehow. We lived with domestic violence in our own home when my father would, get upset with my mom and it got physical here. And she would call the police and they would come and then they would just leave. There was no programs or anything like that. And when I met my husband and my second child was born, my daughter, Cecilia, things started to change. He was getting vocally assaultive, but not physically. One night I came home from work and he was waiting for supper and I was cooking and I passed him his meal, and my daughter had taken a piece of food from his plate and he just lost it. He grabbed me and threw me in the back room in one of our bedrooms and he wanted to kill me, and I was scared to death. I against the wall. He said, "You're going to stay in this room and don't you even move." And he'd go back out of the room. Then he'd come back in again and he'd do the same thing. He'd punch me hard as he could and wherever he could. He'd just start punching me. And then he'd throw me down again and then he'd leave. And after a little while, I heard silence. So I opened the door and I snuck out and there was nothing he wasn't in the home. It was winter time. I grabbed the children, went right straight through the snow and everything to the house next door.
I made a vow and commitment that night that I wouldn't be in that situation ever again in my whole life, nor would my children.
The first real office of the domestic violence program was a small cubbyhole over at the administration office because we didn't have a whole lot back then. I have to give a lot of credit to Jane Rouge. She built that program from the ground up. I would actually talk with Jane about, potential plans for what we would like to see in the future to build that program. One night on the news, I saw a little caption and it said, the federal government is going to be giving all these FEMA homes to the tribal nations. So we flew to Alabama where all the homes were. We acquired like 13 mobile homes and 2 of them went to the domestic violence program. And I think that started that because Jane said, we should start having a vigil at the housing. I said, great, that'd be great. And it was like a little bit discouraging at first. We would go and you could barely have enough people to hold a little circle to hold hands. First of all, it was all women, and it's like the men don't want to come because they feel like they're the ones that being like, you're the assaulter. After doing this for many years, this one man came and he said he assaulted. And after that, everybody came. It was packed. One of our staff members came in one morning to work and he said, the clerk at downtown at this gas station just said this to me. Oh, you Indians just want to buy alcohol anyway. So I got in my car and I drove to town to the place where he said it happened that morning. Manager came out and I said, these kinds of remarks, they have to stop. I said, because we will boycott your store. We can easily do that. We spend a lot of money down here and we won't do business with people who are going to put down our tribal members. And he said, okay, I'll take care of it. I continued to do this, but I think there was like a lack of education on their part about this complicated matter that we're now a tribe and land into trust. And I was going to do my best and work for the community, and I was really determined to do that. There was so much going on that they saw, like the Head Start school. We just didn't allow our own kids to go to that school. People from town who were not part of our tribe, if there was room, their kids could come too. And then they'd have that cultural interaction with our community. They saw that. They saw the gym, they saw new housing going up, the ball field, the athletic field. That was a huge big deal draw because the town did football way back when, but then dropped it.
So you got the high school involved in Houlton.
Yes.
The townspeople came out and I think that they needed interaction with our community. They needed to feel like they were welcome. Once they saw all that activity, things seemed to get better between the town and the tribe. A lot better. Mm-hmm. Every year we have a celebration day, and we celebrate that we were recognized in 1980. And all the members come from near and far and friends, and they have drummers, and we dance and feast, and everybody who can speaks their language to each other. And we're at this point of now we can live together and we can get along together, and you don't hear all this negativity about we're Native Americans and we're just like proud now. love working for my tribe. Every time we had an election, it's like, well, it's my evaluation. If I did a good job, then I'll be back. If I didn't do a good job, then I'm not going to be back, and I know that. I would stay as long as they wanted me to.
The Houlton Band of Maliseets has a new chief after a close race.
Her successor will inherit a totally mobile and progressive community that she's built from the ground up.
I have had the privilege of working for my tribe, the Houlton Band of Maliseet Indians, over the past 30 consecutive years. I am very proud to be a member, and I love my community. As a woman leader, I felt the need to work harder to prove that yes, a woman can hold a position that was traditionally held by men. It was not an attempt to make history as the first woman chief. It was an attempt to make change. I wanted to make a contribution, to make a difference, reunify our community, and to build a solid foundation for the future. We are no strangers to challenges. Our government is strong. Our seasonal ceremonies are still held. Our language, though endangered, is still spoken. There is much to celebrate. Today, we looked to the future with the same hope, faith, and optimism that has sustained us since the beginning of time.
Something outside is calling your name. To quiet your breath, to quiet your brain. Sit here a while and see what you feel. 'Cause only the body can tell us what's real. There's a stillness that's waiting to ease the vibrating and shaking that life sometimes serves, where the answers lie waiting and anticipating. All you must do